Hey everyone, this is Heidi. Welcome back to my channel, My Reading Life, and I'm here today to start my vlog for mid-month book bash, September mid-month book bash, if you can believe it. It is Friday morning at like 7:30 in the morning. I do have to work a few hours this morning, and then I am done for the weekend. I have a busy weekend planned, and then Monday is a long day, so I don't know how much reading I'm going to be able to get done, but I'm going to attempt to read 1,000 pages. I have not set up my spread yet in my bullet journal, but I will do that a little bit later so that I can track the number of pages that I read. So I will show you what I am currently reading. The situation here in the beginning of September is that I started a whole bunch of books because I was doing my 30 books in 30 days project back in August, and I read a ton of short books, and then I got into September and I was like, I just want to read all the books, all the long books. So yeah, that's what I did. I started a bunch of long books. So the very first thing that I have here is Joseph Anton, which is by Salman Rushdie and is his memoir of the time after the fatwa was declared, after the Satanic Verses was published. I am only on page 44. Look, it's got really tiny font and it's really huge. But it's super interesting because this memoir is written very differently than most memoirs in that he writes about himself in the third person. So it's this omniscient narrator who is Salman Rushdie talking about himself. So it's a little bit weird in that way. And so it took me, I'm really enjoying it, but it's also like I have to keep reminding myself that this is his actual real life. This isn't just a story he's telling. And the other thing I will say is I read Languages of Truth, I think it's called, his essay collection. I just finished that last month, or actually the beginning of this month. I just finished it last week. And there's whole passages already in this book that were lifted out of some of those essays. So that's a little bit odd too, but I mean, authors do that, right? They reuse certain things, especially nonfiction writers do that often, but it kind of threw me a little bit. So yeah, but so far, it's highly detailed, but I am enjoying it. So I will be working on this weekend. I have picked up Fledgling by Octavia E. Butler. This is her vampire novel. I've only read the first 3 chapters. I started listening to it on audiobook. I didn't love the narrator. And then the audiobook started glitching on me. I got it from Scribd, and it was just like, I don't know if it was that the audiobook was missing sections or like my download didn't work properly or whatever, but whatever, I have the physical copy, so I'm just gonna pick this up and continue on with it. In the textual form, like I said, I've read the first 3 chapters, so I'm on page 23 in this one. I am reading Night of the Living Rez, a short story collection by Morgan Talty, who is a member of the Penobscot Nation here in Maine, an indigenous tribe, and I am buddy reading this with Sean the Book Maniac, and we're reading one story a week, so I will be reading one story this weekend. The second story in this collection, I've already read the first story, so just getting started with that one. So far, really enjoying it. And then this huge chunker of a science fiction novel, Leviathon Wakes, which is the first book in the Expanse series of, it's quite a long-running science fiction series. I think this was first written like way back. This is like over a decade old. Let me see if I find the, 2011 is when this first came out. So this is 10 years old. This is very fast-paced. We're following 2 main characters, both men. One is, of course, your typical, he's the detective of this space mystery story. He's your typical drunk cop who's let his career go to shit because of the stress and the mental anguish that he feels over his job. And he's kind of become the laughingstock of the police force on the station that he lives on in space. And then the second character is the very highly principled spaceship captain who keeps doing the right thing, which turns out to have very bad consequences because he keeps doing what he feels to be the right thing. So I am 376 pages into this, so I am here. I am hoping to finish this weekend. It is very propulsive reading. It is really fun and action fast-paced, everything, something's blowing up or getting shot all the time. It is a really interesting story, and like I said, it's just like highly plot driven, very fast-paced. And the two characters are sort of dumbass men in a way, but in a way that you're like, it's eye-rolly, but it's not, doesn't make me want to hurl the book across the room. Let's just put it that way. So I'll be reading that. My audiobook is a reread. It's Bad Feminist by Roxane Gay. It's the third time that I've read this essay collection by Roxane Gay. And I just really love Roxane Gay. I really love her essay style. I think she's really funny. I think she's really brilliant. And like the cultural commentary that she brings to her essays is just chef's kiss. So I'm re-listening to that. I think I'm 8 chapters into that, and it's like 38 chapters long or something like that. So like 20 or 25% of the way through. And then my last book on the go right now is We Belong to Gaia by James Lovelock. This is Penguin Green Ideas number 16. James Lovelock is the guy who first coined the phrase the Gaia principle, or Gaia hypothesis, which is the theory that the Earth is a system, like a system that is self-regulating, and the Earth systems sort of decide whether or not to, decide's the wrong word. Basically that Earth is a system, and the system will throw off any species that is basically harmful to the system as a whole. And so, yeah, I've only read like 20 pages into this, and it's 80 some pages long. So, and I am aware of the Gaia hypothesis. I mean, it's been around for a while, and I believe I first learned about it in college, but James Lovelock is a bit of a dense writer. So I read the first 20 pages of this last night in the middle of the night when I was up with insomnia. So I may need to reread parts of that just to make sure I understand what he's getting at. So that's what's on the list for the weekend. Like I said, I have a busy schedule. This afternoon I'm getting my hair done, and then I have to grocery shop. And then tomorrow, where it's a big renovation day at my daughter's new house, so it's like everybody's coming to like paint and clean and do things. So that day's probably going to be fairly busy. And then Monday is a work day, and I have a busy work day on Monday, and then I think a soccer game to go to in the evening. So yeah, who knows how much reading I will get done. But the goal is 1,000 pages. So let's see what happens. Grocery hauls around here involve a lot of bags full of groceries. So it is Sunday, and I figured I'd better check in because I have finished a couple of books here in this mid-month book bash. So the first thing I finished was Friday night. I did finish Leviathon Wakes by James S.A. Corey, which is book 1 in the Expanse series, science fiction, long-running series. And I did describe this, I think, in the first clip quite a bit. So I won't get into it too much here, except to say I enjoyed this. I think that it is a ripping good read. It is plot all the way. Every chapter ends on a cliffhanger pretty much. And so you're just like pushing yourself to read one more chapter. And the chapters alternate and are told between those two main characters, those two guys that I talked about before. One who is a police detective, sort of our noir character, a drunk and a failed at his job and lost his wife and all the tropes, right? All the tropes for a noir detective. And then the other guy is the the highly principled, you know, do what's right no matter what happens, kind of a spaceship captain guy, and the two of them trying to figure out this mystery that they have to solve and how to get along with each other because they see the world in incredibly different ways. And it's all about, because this book takes place sort of, it's not near future and it's not distant future. So humanity has colonized space in terms of there are basically three entities. There's Earth, where people still live. There's Mars, where people first colonized. And then there's the belt, quote unquote, which are sort of the outposts, the far-flung outposts of the area in which humans have colonized. Humans have not made it to far distant space. They've only made it sort of a little ways into space. And the people in the fringes or in the belt are sort of the risk takers or the folks who don't fit in other places. And they didn't grow up either on Earth or on Mars. And so they're quite different physiologically and also attitude-wise. And it's the clash between those three entities, Earth, Mars, and the Belt, that really is at the heart of the story. And where, what do you do when you have these three nations, basically, for lack of a better word, three entities that are sort of see the world differently or see humanity differently, see our existence differently, and some are willing to go further than others to expand humanity further into space. So I thought it was really fun, and I would be interested in reading book 2 in this series, which I think is called Caliban's War. And then last night I finished We Belong to Gaia by James Lovelock, which is a slim Penguin Green Ideas number 16. And this, I would say, is not for the faint of heart. It's very densely written. Lovelock is a grumpy old man and he is expanding on his grumpiness in these essays. He's upset that people have not taken his Gaia theory more seriously, even though he admits it's not really a theory. It's more of a metaphor for how the biosphere works. And I would say that, you know, in some areas he was right when he first proposed this idea, which was quite a long time ago. We didn't know to the extent to which Earth systems regulate how other living beings live or don't live on the planet. And so some of those things that he's talking about are in fact true. But the Gaia theory is not really a theory. It's a metaphor for how the Earth's systems work. But he's just very, very grumpy about the whole thing. So this one was not one of my favorites of the Penguin Green Ideas series. So it is midday on Sunday. I'm hoping to get quite a little bit more reading done today. My last day off of the weekend before I go back to work tomorrow morning. I am also doing really well on my audiobook. While I was in the midst of helping with my daughter's home renovation yesterday, I listened to my audiobook, Bad Feminist by Roxane Gay, and I am over 50% of the way through that, so that's going really well. That's a reread for me. I love her essays that comment on politics and culture. She's just so smart, and she just has a great way of discussing our society and the problems within it. I really enjoy those. So yeah, that's where I'm at, and hopefully I can get a bunch more reading done today. Good morning. It's Tuesday, September the 12th. So, the end of Mid-Month Book Bash did not go as planned, as evidenced by the fact that this is the first time you're seeing me in a couple days. So I didn't get very much more reading done the rest of the weekend since my last check-in. I did read more in Joseph Anton by Salman Rushdie. I'm really, really liking this, but it's not a fast-paced read at all. It's very densely written, which I'm just allowing myself to sink into and enjoy. It is very detailed in what he went through after the fatwa was declared. We're now in the, I've gone past the first part where it's basically him describing his early life and how he became a writer. And then now we're into the section where we're about a year past the fatwa being declared, and he is under protection and is being like moved around all the time. He can't stay in one place. It's just such a disruptive lifestyle. I don't know how he ever handled it. It just sounds horrible. But he's trying to like have some semblance of a life. He's trying to maintain a relationship with his son. His marriage has broken up. It was already on the rocks before this even happened. And of course, the stress of being on the run all the time and having to be in hiding has not helped. This is his second wife, Marianne Williams. She does not come off very well in this memoir at all. Of course, this is his perspective. This is his side of the story, and I don't know anything about her, really. She's an author as well. But she does not come off well at all. And actually, Rushdie himself is not altogether likable all the time. He can be quite pretentious. He can be quite elitist. He can be quite convinced that he is right in all things. So, you kind of roll your eyes at him sometimes. But on the other hand, I have a lot of sympathy for him, and I have a lot of admiration for his dedication to the idea of freedom of speech, particularly for writers, that writers ought to be able to write whatever they want without fear of reprisal from anyone. So yeah, and I am all about that particular ideology. So enjoying this, I did mark this one place that I wanted to share with you because I thought it was so interesting. He's talking about one of the Egyptian sheikhs who's like not who's also been like declaring war on writers over the years, and he says he's talking about a different author, and it talks about this other author in 1994 was stabbed in the neck, and it's Naguib Mahfouz was stabbed in the neck in 1994. This is an author who wrote something that certain particular Muslims did not like. And it says, the elderly novelist survived, fortunately. And I'm like, how prescient is that? It was very creepy and weird to read that in this book that was written so long ago. So enjoying that. That's the most of what I read. The rest of Mid-Month Book Bash. I just dropped my bullet journal that I was going to show you, my spread for how I kept track of my pages. One other thing I wanted to say about Joseph Anton, though, is that there are a bunch of passages in here that are exactly the same as what I read in his collection of essays. And so every time I encounter one of those, I'm like, okay, I'm having a deja vu moment. But no, in fact, it is just an entire paragraph of writing that's been lifted directly out of that essay, or vice versa. I don't know which is which. So yeah. Interesting. All right, here's my spread for the Mid-Month Book Bash. I was trying to reach 1,000 pages. I only got to 523 pages of actual physical reading. I did I did listen to 12 chapters in Bad Feminist, my audiobook, which is not included in this page count. So that would obviously increase this, but it's still nowhere near 1,000. But it was a busy weekend, and you can see I only read 16 pages on Saturday, and I only read 38 pages on Monday, and I read those entire 38 pages before I fell asleep last night. So yeah, not particularly successful, but you know what? I'm reading some great books, and that's all that really matters. I hope you've all been finding some great books to read, and I'll talk to you later.